That's
do
why
live in the extremes on the field and the fact that they aren't consistent. But nobody has run in the Nick Sirianni era. Nobody has run for more 200-yard games than the Philadelphia Eagles. So why is it a surprise when they have a 200-yard rushing game? Nobody has had more success on the field winning football games, with the exception of the Chiefs.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen, here with you for a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. Johnny Mac, how you doing this Tuesday morning, brother?
Doing well, except for the Kansas City Chiefs going to win the AFC. But
yeah, I watched that game last night. I watched the Sixers game last night, John. I watched the MLB World Series last night, John. I'm sportsed out. I looked at the clock. It's 2:00. I'm like, I got to get to bed, man. I got to get to bed.
Yeah, World Series goes to 2:50 Eastern time.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
14th or 15th inning.
I don't know why they can't start these things earlier. Like, I just don't get it.
Well, I guess you got,
football.
Yeah, right.
Football starts at 8:15, and I'm just like, ugh.
Well, when I lived in Houston, John, I did love Central because everything started an hour earlier, and I was like, man, 7 is so much better than 8 starting. But we roll on, John, and the game went till late in the night. Freddie Freeman won the game. For those who missed it, hit a walk-off there in the bottom of the 18th inning, if you can believe it. We got plenty of stuff to talk about today. Johnny Mac, it was a good sports night, though, last night, as I mentioned. I'm not sure if you caught that Sixers game or any of it. Another good one. They're off to a quick start. So you got me.
BJ, I'm gonna dub this show BJ 365.
Man, I'm telling you what, BJ's got me ready to start a Sixers show, for crying out loud. BJ,
I'm just stunned. I was texting some of my basketball friends, and I'm just stunned that the Sixers made a good decision. And I'm stunned they didn't draft Ace Bailey. And then I said to myself,
Daryl, the one thing he has done well is actually draft,
Well, then I said to myself, that, Ace kind of forced his way out of the Sixers' thought process with his actions. So it's like they probably were going to draft Ace Bailey, but either way, it worked out, which is rare for the Sixers. But yeah, boy, they hit a home run with that kid.
Yeah, well, they've done well. They've done pretty well drafting. I mean, I don't know much about the McCain kid because I didn't watch too much Sixers last year. But I did.
He got hurt early. He's hurt again. I can't say that's a good pick. He had a nice little.
He's got skill though. He's got skill.
Yeah, and obviously Maxey, for where they got him, is a good.
Yeah, right. Maxey's.
They're not known for making a ton of good decisions, and most people fell into that trap of. And I kind of talked about it. I mean, look, you play at Rutgers and you can't change the program, and they got 2 of the top 5 picks. It's like, come on. Same thing with Ben Simmons at LSU. This kid can just play. He's just a player. And he's got the right attitude. Now, it's the Sixers. Something will probably go wrong, but I don't know if they can screw this one up.
I'll tell you what,
that's how good he looks.
That backcourt, man, that's a young, fast backcourt. When Joel Embiid gets out there, he's slowing them dudes down,
like
man.
The big slog, I call him these days. He just slows everything down. They're a better team when he's not on the floor. Maybe, with his health, it's just tough to get. And that's another thing. It's like, well, he can't play tonight. He's on a minutes restriction this night, every night. It's like, it's time to turn the page, but they'll never do it.
We'll see what they do. It's clearly those 2 contracts are bogging them down a little bit, the Embiid and the Paul George contract. But it is what it is. They do got a good group of young players that's going to be exciting to watch them develop a little bit. Johnny Mac, let's move over into Eagle Land today. We got an opened up show for anybody that wants to send in a super chat. We will take all your super chats. Birds at 6-2. And in the bye week, obviously. So this week is going to look a little different in terms of, prep for the game. There is no game. So we'll kind of look at the midway point of the year talk about the offense, talk about the defense, talk about the coaching staff, talk about some of the other things, where this team stands about almost midway through the season now for this team. It was a week 8 matchup last Sunday, week 9 bye week, and then we got 8 weeks left, John, or 9 weeks? 9 weeks left, right? 9 weeks.
Yeah. Well, the Eagles, I mean, they have 9 games left. So
9 games, yeah, so 9 weeks left
after the bye week. But it's interesting because this year's totally different. One, it's midway through the season instead of earlier in the season. So normally, I mean, that's better from a traditional bye week perspective. Getting guys healthy, guys are more banged up this time of year. You have more of a sample size to sort of self-scout. But last year, everything went so well after the early bye. That's another part of it. Last year, they were coming off their worst game, Tampa, and they felt they needed to make changes. This year, they're coming off their 2 best games. So that changes the philosophy. And you got to be careful with that because, sometimes you get, sometimes organizations are just like fans. The theory is never get too high, never get too low. You can't stop.
You're saying don't get duped by the 2 good game, right? Gotcha.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. They're well aware of it, but you got to be honest. I say the toughest thing in the NFL is to be honest with yourself, and in a lot of ways, it's even tougher when you're doing well. To be honest with yourself. People talk about cornerback. Keely Ringo's coming off his best game. People talk about edge rusher. Jalen Hunt's coming off his best game.
Yep.
Does that, with the trade deadline coming up, does that skew Howie Roseman's thinking? I don't think so. But you never know. You never know.
I feel like Jalix is on the cusp a little bit. I mean, if you look a little deeper, he's got a lot of pressures this year. I feel like he's on the cusp, but John, probably a little early to rely on him as much as they were earlier in the season. So we'll see what they end up doing. But I do think Jalix is coming along, actually.
Well, he had a good game pressure wise, but it's also the circumstance of the game, the complementary football aspect of it. It's no coincidence they had a good pass rush when you made the Giants one-dimensional because you're blowing them out. So again, that's the toughest thing. Is he really playing that well, or is it circumstance of the game, and that's where they have to make these decisions? Personally, I don't think he's ready to be a starting edge rusher in this league. I haven't wavered on that. Doesn't mean he can't be down the road. But they put a lot on his plate early in his career after very little playing time last year and some positive nature. And again, if you look at the positive part of his games last year, they're all in blowouts where it's easier. And that specific game, people talk about, and again, we use PFF because nobody's better. And if somebody's better, by all means, point it out to me. The individual grade wasn't that good. He was the 16th defensive player against the New York Giants. Ringo played well. He was number 1. Jordan Davis played well. Quinyon Mitchell, Moro Ajomo, Zach Bond, Cooper, Andrew Makuba had a bounce back game. The worst players, Jalix, Reed, who's having a bad season. Those were the 2 worst players from the guys who played significant snaps. So you got to be careful you got to factor all that stuff in, the circumstance. When everybody's pinning their ears back, it looks a lot better from a pass rush standpoint. But from that play to play where you want it, and again, he got much higher grades in run defense than pass rushing. And Vic has said that, forget about PFF, because some people, they like PFF when you say, hey, Jordan Davis got a great game, but they hate PFF when they give somebody a poor grade. Vic has said pretty consistently, he's better defending the run than as a pass rusher. pretty consistently. So he believes he sort of validates that thought when he said he actually played better in run support than as a pass rusher. To me, he's not there as a pass rusher.
Interesting stuff there, John. We're going to look at some of that too as well today. John, they did make a move yesterday, a roster move. I'm blanking on what it was. I believe it was maybe
Perry
just
Nickerson.
Okay, Perry Nickerson. That's what it was. Yep, they released Perry Nickerson, right?
Yeah. Well, they have an influx of moves they have to make. That's just one. They have to open up spots for Jacorian Bennett, for Brandon Graham, and for Nolan Smith, whether that comes from the Green Bay game or shortly thereafter. So there's going to be a little bit of influx. This is the first one. So it doesn't really matter who they use it on. It could be Bennett, it could be Graham. They're the ones we know that are going to be back after the bye. And then you have Smith, where there's still a little bit of uncertainty there. So they're going to have to cut somebody else to get both of those players, Bennett and Graham, on the 53 for the Packers. And if they want Smith, that's a third one. So Perry's number one. Then you got to come up with two more. A.J. Dillon with Tank Bigsby coming up.
Yeah. I mean, right. That could look there.
And then the third one's going to be a little bit tougher. But if they want all three of those guys, they got to make 3 spots. And, Nolan that's one of those things where there's no guarantee Nolan Smith is going to be active for that game. So you might only need two spots for the Packers game. And maybe shortly thereafter, an injury might pop up and it makes it easier for you. But yeah, they're going to have to open up some spots here quickly.
No doubt about it. Good stuff there, John. You mentioned, so some of the grades there on PFF. The one thing I did hear, a lot of former players are bitching about PFF recently. Did you see that? I think Chris Long was doing it, and I don't know. A lot of them are bitching about.
Yeah, I did see it was they gave a bad quarterback grade to, I think, Mahomes one, and it's like, it's like I had and even players, the people complaining about PFF are generally, the common theme is to heavily weight splash plays over successful plays, and that's not what they do. It's, did you do your job on a particular play? And that's how they formulate the grade. It's just like teams formulate grades, film grades. It's not, so you're not getting, Saquon Barkley's not getting extra points for a 65-yard touchdown. He's getting, a positive grade on that play, but even that's dampened by the fact that, again, he didn't get touched. So, I mean, you got to give Brett Toth, which I'm glad, because I thought, and I gave him my game ball after the game, and sure enough, he had a great stinking grade, and he played like it, and you can see it. And so, I mean, there's not a guy, the top ranked player on the Philadelphia Eagles offensively was Tank Bigsby, but he only played 16 snaps. So we'll put him off to the side. Had a great game, but we'll put him off to the side. So for the guys who played significant snaps, Brett Toth was number one, and he deserved it. If you watch the film, he deserved it. And Devontae Smith was number 2. He had a tremendous game. Tyler Steen, Saquon, Fred Johnson, and in limited action, did a tremendous job. Landon had his best game of the year, which was offensive line. It's no coincidence when you play like that, offensive line is going to play well, and they did. But yeah, for the people that do that, they heavily weight. Like people asked last year, how could Saquon Barkley not be the number 1 running back? Well, he wasn't. From a play-to-play consistency standpoint. But from a impact standpoint, which is something different,
Right. That's
he was
completely
clearly number one because the impact of the game. But that's so for people that understand what their grades are, what their grades, and they can defend them all they want or not defend them. It's as long as you understand what they're trying to do, it's valuable. But if you don't understand what th're trying to do, it can look like, what are you talking about? He had 4 touchdowns. He had to be the best player on the field. Not always. That's not always the case.
That makes sense. John, a day now removed. We're going to get into some of these topics with the trade deadline coming up and different players, and we'll kind of review. We'll do a mid-season review here this week of all the players who have had to step up this year. So Moro Ujomo and Jahad Campbell and Jalix Hunt and all of those guys. So we'll kind of look at all those guys this week. Another day removed, though, John. How do you view that Week 8 game versus the Giants? Is it more of just you flush bad games and you might also flush really good games when they're versus a shitty opponent? Do you view it like that, or is there something else you took from the game that you didn't expand on yesterday?
No, I mean, I think they did their job against a poor opponent, which I think was a positive step forward because they hadn't been doing that, and they have gotten better. And they didn't let them have life, and they didn't let them get confidence like they did at MetLife Stadium. And they put their foot down and dominated a poor team, which is not a bad thing by any stretch. But that doesn't translate to say they should do this against Green Bay. That's where I deter from others who think, well, you can do whatever you want. And I saw one of the national guys this morning. This is what I don't understand, and maybe fans can explain it to me in the chat. Like, you got the same national guys telling you 4 weeks ago the offensive coordinator's awful, he should be fired, and they're telling you this morning, oh, they can do whatever they want. They don't have an idea. They can run it, they can pass it, they can. Like, how valuable is that? How valuable is that when the same people are saying 3 weeks ago that they can't do anything?
Yeah, but the games, I mean, the games dictate the change in the tone. I mean, if you just ride the middle the whole season, then yeah, you never have to leave the middle. When it's bad,
it's not necessarily. If you ride realism, you don't go to the extremes.
Well, but John, hear me out. This team lives in the extremes, dude. They do.
No, it lives in the extremes of
no.
Follow them.
Sorry, I don't agree with you. This week they got the run game going. They didn't just get the run game going. They had 2 running backs over 100. They had 270 total yards. They exploded. Jalen Hurts, he either has a perfect passer rating or he doesn't complete a pass in the second half of a football game. They live kind of on the extremes, John, and some of the analysis that you see.
Why is the assumption of consistency moving forward? You're right to that degree. That's the point. Now, when they play poorly, I'm not telling you to jump off the Walt Whitman. And when they play well, I'm not telling you all the problems are solved. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make.
Well, yeah,
they do live in the extremes on the field. And the fact that they aren't consistent. But nobody has run in the Nick Sirianni era. Nobody has run for more 200-yard games than the Philadelphia Eagles. So why is it a surprise when they have a 200-yard rushing game? Nobody has had more success on the field winning football games, with the exception of the Chiefs. So it's never a surprise when they play well, but it's also you've seen the poor games as well. So it's not going to surprise me at all if they throw for 140 yards against Green Bay and lose a football game. Not to say that's what's going to happen, but it's not going to surprise me if that happens.
But you certainly would understand why that would lead to, extreme rhetoric one way or the other. I mean, it is a sports talk business, John. It is entertainment at the end of the day. I get it. It doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I think we have a great audience on this program because you don't do it that way. But the Eagles, I mean,
I'm just talking about the people who value it one week and then disvalue it the next. It's like you can't have it, but you can have it any way you want. People are individuals; they can do whatever they want. But I'm just saying, I don't understand the anger and the angst when the bad stuff comes up. When the assumption is, okay, 1 week they're going to say one thing, and then the next week they're going to go 180, and this surprises you because this has been going on for 3 years, at least, where it's 1 week it's this team is awful, it can't do anything, and the next week it's this team can't be beaten. It's like that to me is just absurd.
Well, those are the ebbs and flows that that the team puts you on in a way. And I get it. You don't have to subscribe to it. I'm just saying that's where I think a lot of it comes from.
Well, and I'm not even talking about that. I get fans. Fans are emotional. It's their favorite team, so they get that part of it doesn't surprise me at all. Like it's the end of the world.
Even people who turn on the tape, John. I mean, even guys who I don't think view the game like that or analyze the game like that or talk about the game like that. They turn on the tape. It's like 1 week they can't run. Next week they go 280. 1 week Jalen Hurts is absolutely perfect. The week prior, he couldn't complete a half pass in the second half. Like if you're analyzing that on a weekly basis and you have a job to do for a network or a company or whatever the case may be, what are you supposed to do? Say, okay, the tape looks terrible this week, but they're probably going to figure it out. I mean, it's just weekly analysis.
Well, nobody's saying if the tape looks terrible, say the tape looks terrible. Don't say, it's not because of a lack of execution. Don't say it's not because that this stuff is rare. I mean, the best players in this league have shitty games. It's an imperfect game. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, it's not a surprise. And the people, especially for the people who play the game, they understand. You're not, Brett Toth isn't going to play like he played against the New York Giants every week. Not going to happen. Why was Landon Dickerson not playing up to his usual standard? Well, we think we know. Back, knee, ankle. Cam Jurgens, back, now knee. We think we know it's injury related because they have a long history of playing pretty good football. But I'm just speaking to the people who get angry at it. Like, all right, and you can do whatever you want, but with the guys who go to the extremes that I'm talking about and say 1 week, well, this is the most uncreative, stupidest offense. They run routes. No, they can't run routes. Anybody else runs. Those people versus, and then 2 weeks later, it's like this team can't be stopped. Well, which is it?
I certainly don't think that, but I do think, I think there is a gray area that you're missing a little bit. I mean, I don't think it's all just aggregators like that. And
these aren't, I'm not talking about it. I don't care about it. These are high level people who are on ESPN and Fox and Game Day Football.
We had Kurt Warner on yesterday. I mean, he was excellent talking about the team. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't view it as all perfect right now for the Eagles, but he gave good context to the team and to the offense and to everything that goes around it, to A.J. Brown.
Well, yeah, Kurt's not one of the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah, Kurt was brilliant.
You can figure out who they are because somebody went on today, said, I don't know how you're going to stop them. And 4 weeks ago, it was, Patullo's got to be out of here. I mean, just saying. You can value it if you want. It's up to the person. I'm just saying that loses credibility with me personally. That's all.
Oh, that makes sense for you, but I mean, I think at the end of the day, there is, it's like we say, it's a week to week league. It's a week to week in commentary too.
I say it all, and nothing's transitive. Forget about the Giants game. Forget about it. That's not going to mean a goddamn thing. Excuse me. Not going to mean a thing against the Green Bay Packers. Not going to mean a thing when they come back. Other than they performed very well, and it was a nice step forward from where they had been. And they certainly seem to be getting back to what they were, or closer to what they were last season offensively, which is built on the running game first and foremost. And they ran the football better than anybody else has ran the football this year in the NFL, which, considering how they were the first 7 games, excuse me, is kind of shocking. But the more shocking part to me is not the 276. The more shocking part to me was the first 7 games. Because one thing this team has always been able to do since basically game 8 of Nick Sirianni's first year is run the football. They ran it well before Saquon even got here. So that, to me, and I said it pretty consistently on all the shows, was the strangest part to me about this team, that they could not run the football. And all the talk about heavy boxes and all that, they based more heavy boxes than anybody last year.
Yeah.
Didn't matter. And they figured it out, and they figured it out.
The rate is still up, though, this year from last year for the Eagles on facing full boxes. They put that stat on the broadcast this week, beginning of the game.
Well, it got skewed a little bit by Minnesota as well, because they went to a bunch of 6-man fronts. So, Again, it's like it is spiking. And that's another thing. It's like spiking. Devontae Smith goes from nowhere to 6 in one game, and Saquon Barkley goes from nowhere to top 10 in one game in the stack. So you have to be very careful when one team goes overboard, whether it's success on the field in the case of Devontae and Saquon, or one team goes overboard with a loaded front game plan. You know, I haven't looked at it, but the Giants scaled that back dramatically from what the Vikings were. So that's wholly dependent on the opposition and what they're doing. But the point is, when they got loaded, and nobody gave them more loaded boxes than the Los Angeles Rams last year, and nobody did a poorer job stopping the run than the Los Angeles Rams against the Eagles. They gave up 4 60-plus yard touchdowns to Saquon Barkley.
I think Saquon's now second in NFL history on 60-plus yard touchdown runs.
Yeah, he tied. Yeah, he tied.
Tied with Derrick Henry and maybe one more. I think Adrian
Jim Brown.
And Jim Brown. And
Adrian's number 1. Adrian's got 15. Right? Yeah.
And Adrian Peterson. Yeah, I mean, John, I hear your point on all the commentary. The one thing I would say is, like, if you
the only reason I say this is because I saw it this morning, and I'm like,
yeah, no, I get it, and I understand your perspective on it. But the other thing I would add is, like, yeah, I mean, if you do stay in the middle, which I think is an appreciated perspective, it's the easier way to go. But even if you look at, like, zoom out on this team, 23, 10-1, and then epic collapse. So anybody who was riding the low, whether you agreed or not, ended up being right. And then last year, anybody who was riding the high, they go 16-1 in their last 17 games, and they win the Super Bowl. It's like everything about this team, John, is either really high or really low. It's kind of the nature of this team.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. I don't think it's. I think it's easy to do the shit that I'm talking about. I don't think it's easy to talk sense. Because if you go back, we've been doing the show for years. You go back to the 10-1 start. All I talked about was how bad that defense was. And even after, when everybody was blaming the offense, I said, the offense has had little pockets of good games. They didn't collapse. The defense collapsed. And it's all up there on our page. Everybody can go look at it.
Yeah, it is.
Last season, I mean, people would say, well, they win when they're in Kelly Green, or they win one, or Brett Johnson came in, they won with Brett Johnson. I'm like, they won with everybody. They won every game. It didn't matter if they wore Kelly Green, if Fred Johnson played, if so-and-so played, if Zander Krause, they won every game. So, yeah, I think it's harder to point out the realistic standpoint than going the natural. The easy part is you play a bad game, it's Chicken Little, the sky is falling. You play a good game, it's, oh my God, they figured it out. Against the New York fucking Giants with no playmakers at home where they haven't won in over a decade at Lincoln Financial Field. Really? They figured it out?
Well,
if they figured it out, you'll be able to see against Green Bay and Detroit after the bye. They haven't won in Philadelphia since 2014.
All right. Well, what's your realism view at this for this team right now, 6-2? Compared to how you viewed them at the beginning of the year.
They're one of the 5 or 6 teams that have a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl, but they have to do a lot of things better. Right now, I don't think they're the best team in the NFC, but they're in the conversation. And you don't have to be the best team at, where they are week 9 heading to the bye week. You don't have to be the best team. They weren't the best team last year, week 9. That was Detroit. But they got a bunch of injuries and they ended up on top, and they're playing their best football at the end of the season. So they're on the short list, and that's why they're not trading A.J. Brown. They're on the short list of teams who have a legitimate shot at winning the Super Bowl, and that's where you want to be. But you see cracks and saying, they still have to pay again. I just gave you Brett Toth was phenomenal in that game. In a game where I think everybody was panicked. Brett Toth against Dexter Lawrence. Sometimes that happens in sports. Played the best game of his life. Is that going to be consistent? Does it even need to be consistent? Is Cam Jurgens going to be back? When is Nolan Smith going to be? I just brought up Jalix Hunt. Like everybody's like, Jalix Hunt. It wasn't that good. You still need an edge rusher. And I don't think Brandon Graham is the answer as the new edge rusher. I don't even think Nolan Smith is the answer. I think they need an edge rusher. And I mean, not necessarily a Myles Garrett-like centerpiece, but somebody who can be a Bradley Chubb or a Jalen, somebody who can step in and be the top guy.
Do you think they'll do that, John? Because Howie's been kind of all cheap this year, but he also has, was in talks for Micah Parsons. So if there's a player that good, hey, he's willing to spend. Again, kind of the tale of the extremes. Yeah. You're either looking at $1 million Uche or $47 million Parsons. Where do you think Howie will be at the trade deadline here? You think he will make a move?
He's going to try to make a move. Will he make him again? That takes 2 to tango. But he's definitely going to try to make a move. He doesn't like to sit still in general. B, he knows this team can win another Super Bowl if things go the right way. So, and he knows, I think he's one of his strengths is the ability to be honest with himself. And he sees the same holes that we see. And that to me remains the biggest hole. So I think he's going to try to get something done. Doesn't mean he can, but I think he's going to try.
We'll see what they end up doing. The names that you mentioned that you like Chubb the best, or I think that's what you said last week.
Yeah, I mean, he has a long history with Big, so he understands what's going on from a system standpoint. So it won't be that long ramp up period. And he's not Micah Parsons, but he's better than what you have. So, And you don't necessarily need Micah Parsons, but because I think they have a lot of. I think if you get if you get that top piece, everybody falls into place. Nolan's a good number 2. Jalix is a good number 3. Brandon is an excellent number 4. We'll see what he has left, but I think everything falls into place if you knock those guys down one spot.
What do you think happens with the linebackers?
Yeah, that's interesting. Boy, that's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't know what, not everybody likes to use PFF. It is what it is. But for those who care about the grade, JAKIB Campbell's the highest graded Eagles defender right now or on defense. So above Zach Bond, right below Joshua Uche, who has lesser snaps but is grading out well on PFF.
Yeah, that's another thing. Uche probably should be playing ahead of Brandon if he gets somebody, which would be interesting because he's played really well. But look, Nakobe brings a lot. He's physical. He just brings a more physical presence. He's a better run defender. He's savvy. He understands. He's got a high football IQ. He's a good player. He is a good player. And by the way, if you play him, that enables Zach Bond to do a lot more when it comes to the playmaking aspect of it. On the other hand, JAKIB Campbell was playing great. And yeah, there's some rookie hiccups, and he doesn't have that same football IQ at this stage of his career. But boy, he's talented, athletically gifted, and that's your future. And he's done nothing to, say that you should sit him on the bench. But that's the old good problem to have adage, which the word problem exists in that, and it is a problem because Vic is clearly, he likes Nakobe. Not that I knew that. I told people that, but he's shown it. He wants him on the field, and if he's on the field, JAKIB is not going to be able to be on the field because he's not one of the top 4 edge rushers, at least when Nolan Smith comes back. And this is assuming you don't acquire somebody. Even if you don't acquire somebody,
right,
he's not one of your best 4 edge rushers. So, he's going to play less. I don't know if I agree with that. In fact, I would say I don't agree with that. And I love Nakobe as well.
Trying to win for 25, though. Look, JAKIB's got an amazing upside. I don't think he's the player that Nakobe Dean is right now in 25.
Well, Nakobe didn't look that great. He's one of the guys, and part of it is just knocking the rust off. He missed a couple of tackles. He looked bad in coverage on the one play. Part of it is just knocking the rust off. But clearly Vic trusts him. And he does. You can see the leadership and the physical presence that he brings, which is interesting because JAKIB's much bigger, but Nakobe's the more physical player. Yeah, it's tough. I love Nakobe Dean, but I'd be playing JAKIB Campbell.
Has your thinking on Nakobe Dean's future changed at all?
No. A little bit because Vic loves him so much. And if he keeps getting better and he plays and they win the Super Bowl again, Vic might say, "No, look, this guy's a big part of it." But I think Howie is pretty much in charge. Not pretty much. He's in charge of the roster. So at the end of the day, when Vic leaves his office, he'll go, well, I got to pay this guy. I got to pay this guy. I got to pay this guy. And presumably if he plays well and they win another Super Bowl, there's going to be another suitor out there that says, all right, I'll pay this guy pretty significant money. So I don't see how it fits from that standpoint still. And Jihad's the future, obviously. So not too much other than Vic has validated that he loves him as a player.
I think I don't know. I'm thinking Nakobe Dean might be back, J-Mac.
Don't see the avenue.
I don't see the avenue if the only way to play Campbell is off ball.
Well,
then you got a real tough avenue.
There's no evidence.
Nakobe's what, 24 years old?
Yeah, he's very young, but
that's what I mean. And coming off that
he's
big
also
injury,
got a significant injury history with serious injuries.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Maybe his market value is somewhat cheaper than the average linebacker who's playing as good as Nakobe has, and you can get him for a couple years for $5 million a year, $7 million a year, $8 million a year, somewhere in that range.
Remember, if they go one and done, it's not a conversation. So the only way it becomes a conversation is if they go deep in the playoffs or even win the Super Bowl again. And that by nature would elevate his value because he would have proven that he's healthy, back playing at a high level. So that by nature would elevate his value. If they don't get to that level, say they're a one and done team, then they're like, oh, we're moving on. We're drafted Jihad. He's our guy. So I don't see a big path for that to happen. Because, and then the second part of it is there's no evidence other than Howie's saying it when he drafted him. There's no evidence that this guy's going to be a big time edge rusher, Jihad Campbell. But there's a lot of evidence that he's going to be a big time off ball linebacker. I mean, he just, everybody makes the Micah comparison like it was right away. It was, Lawrence got hurt and I forget the other guy who got hurt. And they had to play him at edge and he just exploded. There's no, that's not happening here. And in fact, he's getting dominated when he plays on the edge. He's playing poorly when he plays on the edge, as opposed to being a difference maker when he's off ball.
How unrealistic is it to think that in a couple years, Nakobe Dean is your Mike and Jihad Campbell is your future Zach Bond?
Well, Zach Bond's the best defensive player on the team.
I mean positionally on the field. I don't mean output.
Well, what I'm saying is, where's Zach going to be? Out? Because Zach's your best defensive player.
Well, they signed a 3-year contract with Zach. Most of those contracts have been out after 2 years. I don't know.
That's what 20, I mean.
He turns 29 in December. He'll be 30 at the end of next offseason.
But he didn't play. He didn't play for 5 freaking years.
Yeah, so he's still pretty young. I mean, it's not like he's old, but 30 is
from the odometer, the snap counts.
It's like an old car that's been in the garage for years.
Yeah. I mean, right now he's unbelievable, Zach Bond. So I can't even picture that conversation. I mean, I guess it's possible that he all of a sudden turns into a bad player, but I don't think so.
Yeah. I think it would more be just the money and the business element,
I mean, things do move quickly in the NFL and you don't stay at that level, but I think Zach Bond is, man, he's been such a great player for this team. And he can do it all. He plays Mike, he plays Will, he can play edge. Yeah, I'm not moving on from Zach Bond in the near future.
That's going to be an interesting one to see how that plays out. There's no doubt about it. Good stuff, everybody. Appreciate you all for being here this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button. Birds sitting at 6-2. Heading into the bye week, we're going to get into all of the topics this week on where we are, middle of the season, how we're analyzing the losses that the team has had, some of the new players stepping up. Just kind of talked about Jahad Campbell stepping in. We will continue some of that conversation here this week. Let's go to our 2 super chats today. Alexander Harris checking in. What's up, brother? One thing I'll say I love about Dean is when he sees it, he shoots the gap like a bat out of hell, and I think we've missed that. There's no doubt he does that, man. He gets back there quick.
Yeah, he's a very instinctive player. He sees, that's a big thing with linebackers, I think, more than any other position, because there's so many good athletic linebackers that take false steps. And when you do that, a 4.4 turns into a 4.8 real quickly. And Jakobi just is I don't want to say he's Luke Kuechly, but that's the most instinctive linebacker I've ever seen. He's more tilting towards that level, who reads everything, understands everything, and rarely takes the false step. So, and again, the physical aspect, the way he plays, which probably, by the way, contributes to his nature of getting injured. He's just more physical. Like Jahad is way bigger, but nobody's going to say Jahad is more physical. Just Jakobi is. I'm not disputing that Jakobi's a good player. In fact, I gave him more credit, I think, last year than most people for what he brought to the Eagles defense. But the way Campbell played at the start of this year, I said it when he came back. I can't sit Jahad Campbell. I can't do it. They can. He already did.
Yeah, I was going to say. They're doing it.
So I don't agree with it. There are a couple times where Vic and I disagree. And
I wonder if it will vary by opponent. Like, think about Detroit. I know they have a great
run. Oh, definitely, Barry. He's playing Jakobi in base, and the Giants played a lot of base last week. So it will definitely vary. There will be, like, Green Bay is playing all 11. It'll vary. Jahad will play more against Green Bay. Unless
Lions could be a tough one because they have a great running game.
They do both.
Yeah, they do both.
But the Packers will be in all 11 basically. And I haven't seen a ton of Packers, but I don't see Matt LaFleur playing changing from his history. So yeah, definitely it'll change via opponent, and if it doesn't, that means he's shifted and playing Jakobi more in nickel, which, I think Jahad has the big advantage in that instance. So I don't see that happening. But yeah, I mean, if you want to line up in 12 and 13 like the Eagles do, if the Eagles defense was playing the Eagles offense, Jakobi would be playing a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. Good stuff there. Appreciate everybody for checking in today. Alexander follows up. So, question: do you feel the run defense has been better since Dean came in?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's better at it. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, one of the big things, one of the issues I talked about when, playing Zach and Jahad together was that Zach would have to play Mike, middle linebacker, because Jahad wasn't going to be able to do that. And I think that takes away a little bit from Zach's playmaking ability to have that much responsibility. But it worked out well. He can do everything. And it did take a little bit away. And when Jakobi's out there, he can be more free to do some different things. So I think that's an advantage with Zach Bond. I think Zach is probably better with Jakobi, and that's probably the foundation of Vic's thinking. It's really about Zach Bond, not about Jahad Campbell versus Jakobi Dean. It's probably about Zach Bond and his ability to do more things. But ultimately, it's a good problem to have, to say the least.
John, even if it's not in Philadelphia, I'm going to ask you to try and project or predict what a Nakobe Dean contract might look like this summer, even if it's not in Philly?
Well, there's so much that has to happen first. If he stays healthy and plays
You don't have
well,
to go too crazy. Yeah, I mean,
I still think they'll try to limit it because of the injury history. But if he plays well and they go deep into the playoffs, he's definitely going to be over 9. He's going to be in the 9-10 million area, I would think. They'll try to keep it short. And I think Nakobe should try to keep it short, because if he's still young and can go back, and if he has like 4 healthy seasons in a row, I think that's the way he should approach it too.
That's a risk for him, though, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but he's definitely going to be hampered by his injury history, no doubt about that.
Yeah. 3 for 30. That sound too rich to you?
Well, remember the cap goes up, so no. I think 2 for 20. I think they'll try to keep it at, but
we'll see. I'm a Nakobe Dean fan, and I like the leadership. I like the
not
approach.
like there's nothing not to like about Nakobe
I agree.
Dean.
No, it's not. And I know you're not saying you don't like the player because of what you're saying. You're just saying the business is in the way right now for Nakobe Dean, which it clearly is, and we can all see that. Good stuff. Let's go to Jared. What's up, Jared? More impressive, Bo Nix's second half or Jalen against the Rams? Bo Nix's second half
against the
Eagles?
Yeah, well, I'm going Jalen. I don't think Bo was that impressed.
Or Jalen's second half against the Rams.
I don't think Bo was that impressive.
And then he says, and last time you guys got in a fist fight, Jared, you're going to bring me back to my darker days, man. Love you guys. I don't really have an answer for the fist fight one. I know what it was, but I don't really want to put that out on the air.
I don't even remember what it was, but all I remember about Bo Nix is throwing back shoulders to Cortland Sutton. I mean, that's not.
Yeah, right.
That's like, oh shit, we can't do anything else. Let's throw a bunch of shit to the receiver they can't cover. And you got to make the throws, but it was not an impressive quarterbacking performance by any stretch of the imagination.
Jared, good stuff. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate everybody for the super chats today. All right. Last night was a great sports night. We talked about it a little bit at the Open.
Oh, Tani got on 9 straight times.
9
times. I said that pregame. Dude. 9 times. 9 consecutive times.
That is nuts. That is crazy. I watched the game until I think it was the 14th or 15th inning I went up. I'm sitting there, John. My eyes are getting heavy, and I don't really get tired too quick at night. I'm more of I can be a night owl. And I look at the clock. I'm like, holy shit! I gotta go to bed, man. What the hell? It was like 2 a.m. I'm watching the MLB game, but it was a great game. I love the World Series, John. It's one of my favorite sporting events. Always has.
Yeah, well, my team's out of it. My team's not the team of the constituents.
I love when you show your fan tendencies.
Yeah. Well, my team's out of it. I check out of baseball completely.
See, everybody, John's a fan just like us. It's just not for the Eagles, all right? Yeah. It's for the Yankees. When Yankees get eliminated, John is done. I am
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I do respect when a Tani does something like he sets seems like a World Series record every day or a playoff record. He set 2 records yesterday. Times on base 9, never happened before. And he had 4 extra base hits, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, never happened before in the World Series.
He is crazy, man.
Dude's amazing.
He really is amazing. And Freddie Freeman is another amazing player. He obviously did what he did last year in the World Series, and now he is just freaking.
And they've been playing the World Series for a long freaking time.
I know. It's unbelievable. Freddie Freeman now, walks it off last night, bottom of the 18th inning. Boy, I saw somebody commented earlier. I think it was you, Real Zeal. Atlanta did him dirty, and I am happy to see him go and thrive and make big plays and big-time moments. I'm a big Freddie Freeman guy, John. I know Philly fans won't like that.
I hate him because he destroyed the Yankees.
He absolutely did, but I respect him.
I don't hate him. I'm joking, by the way. No, he completely dominated the
Yeah.
World Series last year. Great player. Great player.
Good stuff there. We got a big super chat there. Alexander, thank you, brother. I appreciate this, man. Two super chats earlier from you, and now a big $50 super. Appreciate it, dude. He says, loving Hurts under center. Why do you think it's taken so long for that to happen? And what do you think it did for the offense overall? Because it seems like the offense has been more efficient over the last 2 weeks because of it. You guys are great. Thank you, brother.
Well, they've definitely been more efficient. I mean, part of it is the simple fact that they never did it before, so they surprise people.
Right.
So you have to be wary of that. But it's nice to see them being able to do it and do it effectively. And it just adds another part to the offense. As far as what took so long, well, they had a lot of success playing the way they played for a long time. And was starting to wane a little bit. So they made some changes. And we'll see as teams adapt. Because now, again, it's going to be on film, and good teams at least, will be more prepared for it. So it's a constant back and forth, but they're always going to be a predominantly gun team. But it's nice to know that they can go under center and pass the ball, which, they would occasionally go under center, but it would always be a run for the most part. And obviously tush pushes and things like that. So it's a positive step that they're able to, engage the passing game from that perspective.
Is the narrative that Jalen doesn't like to do it, you think that's going to be put behind him pretty quickly here?
Yeah, I think he's proven that he can do it. So,
yeah.
And again, that's more than Jalen. That's it's because of the way they played. Like, I think people they're insulting Jalen Hurts. Like, if you watch the Eagles in the Jalen Hurts era, they're a gun team. They're a pistol team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's like, so the assumption is, like everybody else, because that's how they play college football, that's what they're most comfortable with. That's all it was.
Yeah, but I'm always been of the belief if it doesn't work or if it stops working, and the coaching staff should be forcing evolution or pushing them in places to get better. I always thought that this was an obvious addition to the offense.
Well, it's worked, but again, part of the working is they surprise people. So that's not always going to be part of it. As teams see it, now they'll say, all right, this is a possibility.
Right. But it does open things up. It does give you more optionality in the playbook and some of those things, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, again, I bring it so you can watch all the legitimate play action teams. I brought this up yesterday. One of the things that frustrates me about play action teams is there's good to be in a gun team. There's bad to be in a good gun team. There's good to be in a play action team. There's bad to be in a play action team. Everything has its holes. In the case of play action, I tell people one of the things when I'm watching a play action team, so think Kyle Shanahan, think the 49ers.
Right.
When I'm watching that type of team, one of the things that drives me insane is when you're third and long and it's a gotta have it moment in the game. And because they're a play action team, there's all these mechanisms to play action that quarterbacks have to do. It's very detailed. And so when they're 3rd and 12, say in the fourth quarter, and you need a first down, and say you're down 3 points, you'll see a lot of play action teams use that play action, even though everybody in the building knows it's a pass. And they're literally turning the backs to, let's pretend it's Micah Parsons or Myles Garrett. And I'm thinking, why in God's name? Everybody in the building knows it's going to be. Why are you turning the back to the? And then all of a sudden it's a sack and it's game's over. And I go, I just don't understand it. I do understand it, but I'm like, why not put him in the gun? Why? Because they're not as comfortable.
Right.
It works both ways. So, now it's new for Eagles fans, although you've seen play action in the past because the game, especially older fans, was more like that. And you've seen the other side of it. If you
So
really
what I'm hearing though is that we have the opportunity, doesn't mean it will be realized, but to get the best of both worlds in a way.
Well, that's what, they can't be stopped, Zander. They can't be stopped. They
No, but I
can't be
mean,
stopped.
seriously, with Jalen, I mean, you bring up a good point about quarterbacks like a Purdy or even a Goff. Those guys aren't gonna thrive in what they haven't done. Just like Jalen has been a gun quarterback his whole life. But if Jalen's proven he can be under center, and that 3rd and 12 does come, and you don't have to play action because your quarterback is certainly already capable of doing that. I mean, there could be a world there where you're looking at trying to get the best out of, but it doesn't mean it's always going to be perfect. But I think that's a potential upside there.
Well, it's definitely an upside that they put it on film that they can do it. It's definitely an upside. I'm not saying it's not an upside. I just wouldn't get, you know, like last week. I mean, right off the bat, and by all means, because I know Brett Toth's wife doesn't like bad things about Brett Toth, but um,
What do you mean?
she claps back on people who criticize Brett. But
What,
I'm
player?
joking. Yeah, I'm joking. I don't think he's going to play that well every week. Like right off the bat,
The Toth family is a sassy bunch.
Yeah.
Remember when he clapped at BLG? I thought that was the most ridiculous tweet I've ever seen.
I mean,
Clapping at BLG over
I don't think people recognize, again, when you play well, generally the players play really well. And when you play poorly, generally the players play really poorly. Like I've been pretty consistent on this show. I think people put way more impact on the coaches than they deserve. Like as simple as that. When you play well, the players are playing well. And when you play poorly, the players are playing poorly. That's generally what happens in this league. Not to say coaching, it's the most important. If you look at the major professional sports, NFL coaching is definitely more important than, say, baseball and the World Series and basketball. And I assume hockey, you're the hockey expert. I'll defer to you. Definitely football coaching is more important in those sports, but it's still got more to do with the players than the coaches.